Hey everybody, this is D Hunter, bringing another action figure review. Today, we're going to look at the McFarlane DC Multiverse Two-Face as Batman action figure. This is Two-Face as Batman from Battle for the Cowl. This is when Bruce Wayne was supposedly dead, and there were a bunch of different people trying to be Batman, filling his shoes. I got this figure from the McFarlane toy store, so let's take a look at the packaging. As you can see at the top, 22 moving parts, McFarlane toys, ages 12 plus, DC Multiverse, Two-Face as Batman. Here he is in the package. Looks like he's on the Batman Hush body. Looks like he has a bunch of extra hands, collector's card, and display stand. One side of the package, Two-Face as Batman from Batman Reborn. Other side, Two-Face as Batman. Bottom, got a bunch of credits, and there's his barcode, in case it helps anybody. And on the back side, here's Two-Face holding Batman, giant penny. Presumably he's in the Batcave right now. So with no further ado, let's open him up. And of course, I did end up getting two of these Two-Face figures. One of which to open and enjoy, and the other one to keep unopened in my complete, unopened Batman-related action figure collection. And did get the entire bundle of figures from the McFarlane toy store. Between the bundle discount and a coupon code, I paid a little bit less than retail for all these guys, including shipping. Not too bad if you ask me. Alright, now that this figure out of the package, here he is with all his accessories laid out. He comes with a display stand, a collector's card, and then 4 alternate hands, totaling 6 interchangeable hands. But before we take a look at those, let's talk about and check out the actual figure. So this is Two-Face as Batman. It's from Battle for the Cowl, or Batman Reborn. Batman was sort of missing, possibly dead, and a bunch of different people were trying to take over as Batman. This is not the first time any company's made a figure of Two-Face as Batman from this specific storyline. DC Direct made one years ago. Honestly, I'm not a big fan of how this looks. I think it's very gimmicky, kind of dumb. Same time, kind of makes for a cool figure, Two-Face as Batman, but it's not a figure that I'm going to use very often. This is the second Two-Face figure McFarlane has made. One was from the Dark Knight film, and one is now from Battle for the Cowl. Give us a regular comic Two-Face, please. The Dark Knight one will do for now. So let's take a look at him. Start with the head here. Ears stick out a little bit far from side to side. You can see the burnt face. Sculpting is great all over the bat cowl. Giant wide eye there. And this side, a lot more normal. Looks pretty good. Very well done. He's on the giant Batman Hush body. Big, bulky torso. Double jointed elbows. Double jointed knees. Black on one side, red on the other. Although you can see it's definitely sort of really dark blue here, but I think the arms and legs are mostly black. Cape matches that aesthetic. Overall, it's a good looking figure, but not a very practical one. Stop making us villains that are heroes and heroes that are villains. Just give us the traditional looks of all these characters, please. Then make weird ones like this. And just a closer look at his face and head sculpt. I mean, it's very well done for what it is, but do we really need this? Personally, I would say no. And here's the figure broken down as far as I can go, with all of his removable parts detached. Now let's check out his accessories, and let's start off the boring stuff. Here's his display stand. We've seen it a million times before. It's a black perfect circle, very thin, very basic. Now let's check out his collector's card. As you can see, it's an image of Two-Face dressed up as Batman. Two-Face as Batman from Batman Reborn. On the back side, there is a description. If you want to read that, go ahead and pause now. Now for his hands. He has a total of 6 of them. 3 left hands and 3 right hands. Here he is with his first pair of hands. These are his fists. Then, with his second pair of hands, this is a pair of gripping hands with a trigger finger for the guns he does not come with. And here's his third pair of hands. This is a pair of open hands. His right hand, it's pretty open, could be a grabbing or choking hand. And his left hand here, it's sort of semi-open like a gripping hand, but you can see the Two-Face coin in the palm. And I know it's not a McFarlane toy, but DC Direct made a Two-Face as Batman many years ago, and I was curious the similarities and the differences. Now the most noticeable difference I see is what looks to be black on the new figure is obviously a really dark blue on this one. Head's a little bit different. His eye's red, his eye's white. You can see the burnt skin is a lot darker on this one than on this guy. Beyond that, a lot of similarities. He seems to have some spikes here on his forearm. Doesn't really have them on this figure. Belt, it's more or less similar. The pattern is the same, although the bat symbol is different on his, where it's the same on his because they use that same hush sculpt. Articulation's way better on the McFarlane figure. I'm not sure which one I like better. Pros and cons to both. Overall, I think this one maybe looks a little better, but this one's going to be a lot better functionally. Now they've taken a pretty good look at both the figure and his accessories. Now let's check out his height. And like I said, this is down to the hush body, so it's a big boy. From bottom to the top of his head, standing at about 7.4 inches tall, which you can translate to just under 19 centimeters. And if you go to the top of the ears, about 7.7 inches tall. Now for his articulation. Start with his head here, and I'm not a fan when they make the head and neck one piece. He can rotate from side to side. He can look up, really not at all, but down quite a bit. Can tilt his head from one side to the other. Shoulders, ball joint, goes out a little bit more than 90 degrees. Up, down, around, all that good stuff. He's got a butterfly joint between his shoulder and chest area, increasing the range of motion and covering the large gap. Bicep cut below that. Double jointed elbows, they go all the way in. His wrist can rotate, and it's hinged. His torso, he's got a ball joint, rotate around, forward and back. Another one is waist, rotate around, forward and back. Between the two, pretty good range of motion. I got more out of the waist than the torso. Legs, complete as splits, not a ball joint, McFarlane style hip joints. Rotation, it's pretty good on him. Then go forward about that far, back, not much. Double jointed knees below that. Then his ankle, forward and back. Tilt, rock. Rotate. And of course, toe articulation. Here are the two of these Two-Face as Batman figures in front of a split background with large coin between them. Now let's check them out. Next to some other action figures. Starting off with some other Two-Face figures. Here's this new McFarlane Two-Face next to the DC Direct Batman Reborn Two-Face as Batman. Which figure do you think is better? I'm going to have to personally say that visually I think the DC Direct one is a little bit better. But as a whole, McFarlane is a better action figure, moves much better. And here he is, next to the Dark Knight Trilogy Two-Face. This is the only other Two-Face McFarlane has made in their DC Multiverse line. And even though he's a movie Two-Face, he's much closer to the comic version of Two-Face than this Two-Face's Batman is. Which is actually from the comics. But this Dark Knight version of Two-Face is much closer to a normal, standard Two-Face. And that's my current fill-in for Two-Face in my comic world for the McFarlane figures. The next Two-Face they're going to be making is going to be a Target exclusive Jokerized Two-Face for the Dark Knight Trilogy. Not really excited about that thing. It's going to make me the Jokerized Bane, which I'm also not very excited about. Now they really need to give us a comic style Two-Face, whether it be a classic one, Rebirth, New 52, whatever. Bring one on. They could easily do a modern Rebirth one and then repaint him into a classic version. And I guess that's not fully accurate. McFarlane also made this Two-Face in their 1966 Batman line. And here he is, next to all of my DC Direct and DC Collectibles Two-Face figures. Then, next to a Mix-Max third-party unauthorized Two-Face. And here he is, next to a couple of Mezco 112 collective Two-Face figures. And here, next to a Soap Studios Dark Knight Trilogy Two-Face. Then, next to all my different Mattel Two-Face figures. And now, next to an older Kenner Two-Face figure. Here's my entire collection of Two-Face figures. What are the odds? If I count them up, I've got 22 Two-Face figures. Because I can't get any more, or have to get rid of one. Having 22 Two-Face figures is just fate. It was meant to be. But if I could name out one that I don't have that I'd really like, it would be the Mattel DC Superheroes Two-Face, the black and white suit version. I also have a few different Harvey Dent figures. These are from Mafex and Mattel. Now let's check them out. Next to some action figures that I thought make some good Two-Face thugs or henchmen. At least that's what I use them for in my action figure collection. Here he is, next to a couple of Jazzwares, AEW, Dustin Rhodes figures. Face split right down the middle. One in red, one in blue or black. Works perfect. I even have this bloodied up version for when Batman's through with them. Here he is, next to a couple of Matt Hardy figures. One's from Mattel in the light straitjacket, and one's from Jazzwares in the dark straitjacket. Then, next to a couple of Mattel Christian wrestling figures. The one in white, the one in black. Total opposites, perfect twin henchmen. Here are a couple of twins from the Matrix. Twin henchmen, perfect for a Two-Face display. And here he is, next to a couple of older Toy Biz Marvel Legends, White Queen and Black Queen figures. They work as sort of my comic variations of Sugar and Spice, and recently Hasbro made some updated versions of these characters, and I thank them for that. Now let's check them out, next to some other McFarlane DC Multiverse figures. This Two-Face here uses the Batman Hush body. It's a giant body that's been used time and time again for Batman figures, but it didn't start off with Hush Batman. It actually debuted with the Year 2 Batman here. Next, they used that body to make the 3 Jokers Batman. Then, of course, they used it for the Hush Batman, and they most recently used it on the Vampire Batman. Here are all the different Batman figures that use that same Batman Hush body. We have a total of 7 of them so far. The body is far too big. Could definitely be retired at this point. I mean, it's a nice looking figure when by himself, but put him next to the majority of other McFarlane DC Multiverse figures, and he's way too big. On the bright side, I'm not personally aware of any other upcoming figures that use this body. Well, scratch that. There is a black and white single version of Hush coming in the near future. Now let's check him out. Next to some other recently released McFarlane DC Multiverse figures. Here he is, next to the rest of his wave. Nightfall Batman, Two-Face's Batman, and Batman Incorporated Batwing. And here he is, next to the goofiest head sculpt you ever seen, Rebirth Superman, and Ultraman 2-pack. Then, next to the Big Bad Toy Store exclusive, black and white accent version of Superman and Flash. And now, next to the 5th wave of Page Punchers, this is a Batman-themed wave, fighting the Frozen, Batman, Robin, Batgirl, and Mr. Freeze. And there's a Platinum Chase variant of this Batgirl. I'm on the hunt for a couple of those. Here's Two-Face, next to some recent McFarlane Toy Store exclusive figures. We have Superman in his Unchained Armor, Patina variant, Dick Grayson Robin, and Kyle Rayner Blue Lantern. And here he is, next to the entire Flash movie wave. Then, next to the Titans wave, Collective Build Beast Boy. And now, next to some recent Walmart exclusive gold label figures, we've got Beast Boy, Eradicator, and then Vampire, Superman, Batman, and Joker. I have Captain Atom on the way, should be here in a few days. Here's Two-Face, next to some recent Target exclusive gold label figures. We've got both the Flashpoint Aquaman and Project Superman, the Jokerized Dark Detective Batman, and the Impulse and Deadman. I've got the Flashpoint Flash arriving tomorrow. Then, with the 2 most recent McFarlane Mega figures, Fulcrum Abominus and Calabac. And now, next to the Arkham City Riddler and the Arkham Knight Earth 2 Batman skin, here's Two-Face, next to Shazam and Wonder Woman from Shazam Fury of the Gods. And here he is, next to the 4th wave of Page Punchers. This is an Aquaman-themed wave. We have Aquaman, Aqualad, Ocean Master, and Black Manta. Then, next to the Dark Knight Trilogy wave, Collective Build Bane from the Dark Knight Rises. And now, next to the Dark Knight's Metal Gladiator Batman and the Kingdom Come Armored Batman, here's Two-Face, next to the Connell Superboy, Duke Thomas' Signal, and both versions of the Jay Garrick Flash. And finally, next to the most recent Batman wave, we have the Hush Batman, both versions of the Nightfall Catwoman, both versions of the Rebirth Mr. Freeze, and the Infinite Frontier Joker. Now let's check him out, next to some action figures from different various companies, so we can see how he fits in both scale and style-wise, in case you don't know which lines you can mix him with. Since he's a McFarlane figure, they're typically the 7-inch scale. I'm going to start off my comparisons with some of the larger action figure lines I collect, and work my way smaller. But first, let's check him out with some of his McFarlane Toys brothers. In front of you are 5 different action figure lines, all from McFarlane Toys, all 7-inch scale. Then, with some more McFarlane Toys. These are from different various video game properties. And now, with some Jack-specific wrestling figures. Here's Two-Face, next to a roll of paper towels. And here he is, next to some DST or Diamond Select toys. Then, next to some DC Direct and DC Collectibles figures. And here he is, standing with some NECA figures. Then, with some Mattel wrestling figures. And now, next to some Jazzwares AEW wrestlers. And here he is, next to some Mezco 112 collective figures. Then, with some Mattel DC Universe Classics and Multiverse figures. And here he is, with some Mafex figures, then with some Hasbro Marvel Legends, and here he is, next to some SH Figure Arts action figures, and finally, next to some Jazz Wars Fortnite figures. So overall, it's not bad as far as action figures go. The sculpt is good, although as a whole, I think Two-Face's Batman looks quite dumb. He's on the Hush body, way too big for a Batman, much less Two-Face, who isn't supposed to be this giant buff guy. They should have picked a different Batman body to use as the base for this. That being said, the sculpt and paint job are very nice. The burnt side of his face, the burnt side of the cowl, it all looks good. Here's articulation. It's good, not great. Some issues with the ankles and the hips on the Hush Batman. His accessories, frankly, they're non-existent. He has 4 extra hands, no traditional accessories for this guy. If I were to rate this figure, I think I'm going to give him like a 6 out of 10. The body's too big. It's a figure I don't need. Yeah, you're probably thinking, why'd you get him? That's what I do. I'm going to get all the Batman-related characters. There's a reason I got that DC Direct one all those years ago, and a reason I got the McFarlane one now. Part of my Batman collection, but apart, it doesn't bring me much joy to add. So this is D Hunter. Thank you guys for watching this video. If you liked the video, press like below. If you have anything you want to say with the video, add to the comment section. If you want to see additional action figure reviews from me, press subscribe. I do appreciate when you do that. Once again, this is D Hunter. Thank you guys for watching this video, and I will talk to you guys real soon.